Sky Squad, welcome back to the Hills of Beverly. We got to talk about Beverly Hills. Season 13, Episode 1, The Eagle Woman has landed. Okay? The Eagle Woman has landed. So before we get into the episode, I want to first talk to you about my general thoughts about this episode, like overall, so I can also give you my rating. So if you're familiar with how we do things on the channel, we always rate the episode on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 obviously being like wow, and then 1 obviously being never. So for me, I'm gonna start this up. I've thought long and hard about this. For me, I'm gonna give this a 9. And the reason maybe an 8.5. I'm going to say 8.5 actually instead of a 9 because I feel like we have a little bit of ways to go. And I feel like things are going to get better based on the way that they are rolling out the storytelling. So, conversely, like when you look at Basketball Wives, and you look at Beverly Hills, I mean, they're both filmed in Los Angeles, obviously, but two totally different franchises. The reason I'm comparing the two of them is because I felt like Basketball Wives felt like they needed to start us off with like this huge bang, and so they flew back, they flew past some drama that actually needed to be gotten to first. But I kind of understand why they did it. I felt like they wanted to get Evelyn activated immediately because that is what Evelyn is known for. Evelyn, for some reason, finds herself usually working better or more popular or polarizing with audiences when she's in conflict, right? So I felt like, interestingly enough, with Beverly Hills, I felt like they did somewhat the opposite. First things first, right off the bat, which is something I'm kind of like not used to, but I was like, oh, this is a fresh new take on how they typically do things on Housewives. Typically, we would have individual scenes where we catch up with each of the ladies, and then at the end, we would get the group scene. But this time, we get that in reverse. We actually start off with the lead up to a really big, like, I mean, I don't want to say big, but like a group scene that kind of is meant to sort of wrap up everything from the previous season with a nice little bow, which again is what I felt like should have been done in the first episode of Basketball Wives, because I felt like we still had like huge drama with Jackie and Jen and and Jackie and Brooke. So I love that they start this episode off like getting right down to the drama that needs to be sorted out. And now we can actually start fresh with some new drama. Okay. Now, I just have to also say this. We're also going to touch on a couple of things from Watch What Happens Live. Kyle was on Watch What Happens Live last night, and I'm covering my nose because I have to sneeze. So sorry for that. But Kyle was on Watch What Happens Live with Teddy Mellencamp. And for whatever reason, I feel like that was probably Kyle's idea because, that's her BFF, that's her buddy or whatever like that. But I feel like, stop trying to force this woman down our throats. Like, I think that Teddy is great in the space that she's in with the podcasting. I don't really want to see her or care to see her literally acting simply as Kyle's mouthpiece or her wing woman. I always feel like the OGs of the franchise should always be able to stand alone. And I feel like that's what usually makes the OG such an OG, is because they've been able to withstand everything. Some of the best OGs, I feel like, are OGs that can stand 10 toes down on their own and would be there by themselves, i.e., Lisa Vanderpump would be on by herself. Bethany Frankel would be on by herself. You would have Nene Leakes back in the day, sometimes by herself, right? Sometimes she was with other people. You could possibly put Teresa on. I mean, I think that they have put Teresa on by herself. Not that they would not put her on with someone else, but I just feel like, each of these OGs that I've just named have been able to withstand everyone coming at them, everybody coming at them on their respective shows. And I just feel like Kyle has a hard time doing that because I feel like Kyle needs someone to lean on in order for her to sort of muddle through it. And I understand that she kind of suffers from anxiety as well as I totally get that. But I just also feel like I don't need Teddy on this because I'm really more interested in what Kyle has to say, because Kyle has been the one in the news lately. And Teddy is actually irrelevant to this conversation because I feel like, I mean, she's not really adding anything of value. And I felt like her reads don't even land, right? So I feel like she's on this show and she's on Watch What Happens Live to sort of like give the gotcha to several other, housewives that have kind of come at her. But even when she was trying to read them in response, the reads weren't landing, right? Even Andy is sitting there in a state of confusion, like, what, girl, what are you talking about? So much so that after the read and Andy's face looking like, what are you talking about? She and Kyle are conferring with each other, like, did that? I don't think that landed. Did that land? I mean, I don't know what they were saying, but that's what I imagined it to be. So if you didn't watch What Happens Live, go ahead and get into that. I had to discuss that first because I'm gonna probably interconnect some of what was said on Watch What Happens Live with some of what was said in the episode. All right. So first things first, what I noticed is they start the episode with a preview of this season. Interestingly enough, they do the title card and I can't even remember if they did the taglines, but they did the title card without Anne Marie. So I guessed, rightly so, right at the onset, that we were not going to meet Anne Marie Wiley at the beginning of this episode. And I'm fine with that because ultimately I felt like there was enough that we needed to resolve from last season that we could really focus on the core six from last season in general. Now, I have to ask you guys, or I have to make this statement. I did not miss Lisa Rinna in this episode whatsoever. I didn't miss her. I wondered how they would fare coming back with, out her and her antics. And I have to tell you that I rather enjoyed the episode. I felt like they, with the absence of Lisa Rinna, they got the chance to forego fabricated drama and substituted it with actual story. Like, this was one of the first times that I felt like I'm interested in the individual scenes as much as I am the group scenes, because everybody had a genuine story that I'm interested in following. And so I feel that when you focus more on the actual story versus somebody just bringing up something to spark some controversy, or, to be quite honest with you, we're getting outside of, I know Lisa Rinna suffered through, something very traumatic last season, but outside of that, we really don't get much from her anyway. So I did not miss her on this episode at all. The next thing we got to go into is the actual episode itself. We start the episode off with PK and Dorit. And this is what's interesting about PK and Dorit right now, because similar to Kyle and Mauricio, they too are having their separation or divorce, moment. You know what I'm saying? Will they or won't they? So the last thing that I saw about this, and I just wanted to mention this right off the rip because I saw this on Philly.Divas page last night. I think it was last night, and I took a screenshot of it. But there had been all types of, like, all day yesterday, rumors. Publications were publishing that the two were separated. But what we see here, that Dorit and PK have released a statement to People Magazine denying the rumors of separation. So they say, we remain committed to working through these issues as a united couple for our family. We have not separated, nor are we planning to do so. Rather, we are focused on healing, making changes, and doing the things that many couples have to do at some point in their marriage. They then went on to ask for support from viewers. We will be grateful for everyone's understanding. We are doing what we can to focus on the best interest of our family, as opposed to spending our time contending with rumors and hearsay that are not true. The note is signed, Love, Dorit, and PK. You guys, make sure you guys are following Philly.Diva. But I just wanted to touch on this for a brief second because I feel like it's important. Kyle talked about on Watch What Happens Live that people were thinking that, oh, this is all for a storyline, their whole separation, her and Mauricio. And I think once you watch the episode, you begin to get a different picture of them, which is very interesting because it's a picture that we've never seen before. How, in a lot of marriages and a lot of relationships, there are usually inklings of signs that something is awry, right? With Melody and Martell, for instance, we could see for a long time coming the dissolution of that marriage and seeing them trying to make it work from the onset. But it's interesting because it's kind of like all of a sudden, two of our long-term couples on Beverly Hills are suddenly thrust in the heat of marital woes. And so it just seems like the timing is just so very interesting, right? Like it does make you wonder, like storyline or nah. But you know, if what we're getting right now is reality, meaning they weren't giving us the reality of their marriages before, and we're finally getting it now, I'm happy to see it because ultimately nobody's marriage is perfect and everybody has issues. So if we're going to be finally getting to see all of this, then I'm here for it. But the other thing I want to say is if this thing with that Morgan lady, Norman, it's her name Morgan. You know, Kyle, the little girl Kyle running around with. Morgan Wade. Well, I'll take your word for it. Fine. So I don't want this to be some type of thing where they kind of like baiting us with the two of them hanging out together, because they did a little video and things like that where, Kyle and it looked like they was in some type of steamy love affair, obviously playing into the tabloid rumors, which is what makes it seem all for TV. Okay. So Kyle, you're not doing yourself no favors when you are treating this in a way that comes across like you are intentionally misleading the people because you saying on Watch What Happens Live, y'all just friends. Actually, she's you and Teddy's friend. We didn't ask for Teddy, but she's there anyway, like a shadow, just there. You know what I'm saying? Show up like Charisse. She's just there, right? And that's no disrespect to Charisse because I felt like, they obviously keep inviting Charisse back for a reason. She was the nucleus of the group. She made more sense than Teddy to me anyway. But anyway, I just felt like this better. Something in the milk ain't clean, and I don't know what it is, but we will find out eventually. Meanwhile, we learned that Dorit is getting all the girls together, at to meet with Blue Raven and the Eagle Woman so they can all sing Kumbaya and get back together again. It's going to be a healing retreat in the mountains of Malibu. Now, Kyle is nervous going into this because, little did I know she was holding on to some resentment because the girls didn't have her back last season. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But anyway, everybody is coming, they're all starting to arrive right at the beginning of the episode, which is interesting. Erika, knowing that she was vicious last year, is entering this realm without her bestie, Lisa Rinna. And we do see the email that Lisa Rinna indicated saying that she quit Beverly Hills. And to be honest with you, I didn't even need that because I guess they had to address it because Erika would be going into this without her bestie. But at the end of the day, I really did not care. I think Lisa Rinna needs to be, I think she needs to go and do her thing. You know what I'm saying? And if she want to come back in a couple of years, refreshed and rejuvenated, I'm here for that too. But like for right now, gone, girl. So anyway, I'm blocked by her anyway, so it don't matter. Everybody comments on how skinny Erika is, and Erika says it's hormones. Now, on Watch What Happens Live last night, Andy brought this up and, Teddy was like, well, can we stop doing this thing where we're commenting on women's bodies? Well, it would be a difficult situation if the women themselves in the episode weren't commenting on her body. Everybody has been, to me, it's a natural conversation. At the end of the day, nobody's asking you, girl, what surgeries did you have? Although it could be asked, did you have a bypass or some type of put a sleeve in your stomach or something like that? Because the people want to know, girl, you're looking good. So what's the deal? What you doing? How did you get this thin? At the end of the day, it is what it is because everybody in that room, Crystal included, was commenting on how skinny Erika looked. Okay. And so at that point, we get a confessional where Dorit, says, well, hormones, or do you mean Ozempic? Okay. Because that is really the question. I don't know nothing about taking no hormones, especially, the women hormones, and I don't know what the hormones are for. But if the hormones are making everybody that thin, I'm sure everybody would want to be on them, similar to the way that they are on the Ozempic. But maybe somebody in the comment section can comment and let me know what the hormones do. And if they really do indeed make you, give you that little extra yang so you can look a little extra thin, let me know. Because, I'm sure somebody else out there want to know too. Meanwhile, because if that was the case, then everybody would be on the hormones, right or wrong? I don't know. So the producer asked, are you on the Ozempic? And she says, no, I'm on hormones. Some of these other ladies could be on hormones too. Again, what are the hormones? I just don't know. Forgive me. Okay. Forgive me. And I don't think Norman knows either. So, Meanwhile, here comes Blue Raven beating on the drums. And Eagle Woman comes in. Breathe through me, Great Spirit. Breathe through me, Great Spirit. Now, actually, I know a beat. Okay, let me tell you, I know a beat. But I'm just giving you an indication of what type of beat they was on. Okay, because that was the beat they was on, and I'm giving you that. All right. So anyway, so we get they have some sage tea, and I'm trying to figure out what the Eagle Woman is talking about. Fly like a bird and fly away. Um, Dorit she wants to get into the issues first. She got an issue with Erika because Erika said at BravoCon that she felt like Dorit and PK's was going to be the next marriage to end. And Dorit feels like it's mean-spirited and hurtful. But girl, was it too far from the truth? Because based on what the tabloids and the media is reporting, I mean, is it looking like she was a fortune teller at that point? Or was it not? Or did y'all? Oh, is this a story that y'all decided to run with after she said it? If so, because you need to give her some credit then. Okay. So anyway, as you guys can see, I am a skeptic when it comes to certain things within the reality TV realm, because when it don't smell right, when I can't understand where the smell is coming from, when I ain't seen no signs of it before, I have to wonder, is it real? Okay. So Erika says, well, I did not want to answer that question, and I asked not to. Dorit said, but you delivered the answer like you wanted the attention. I was here for Dorit in that moment because I was like, you right. I don't know what kind of friend for me. If my friend got up on stage and said, oh, I think that, that marriage or that relationship is going to end, and they talking about me, we're no longer friends. I don't care what you say. I'm done. I don't care if you being smart, if you being a show woman like you claim. You could be a show woman by saying, I don't know. Okay. And you ain't got to give these people what they want. You ain't got to throw me under the bus to give somebody else what they want for you. Okay. Because she did say it with her chest out. So Erika basically says, I'm a show woman. I walked right down to the edge of that stage and I gave those people what they wanted. And Dorit was like, girl, you weren't, in her confessional, she says this, you wasn't being a show woman, you was being a bitch, okay? And I would have to agree. She also thought that Erika was going to apologize versus defending that moment. And for Erika, she's like, well, it wasn't a defense, it was an explanation, okay? She says it was shady questions, so she gave a shady answer. But I'm still like, girl, if you want to give a shady answer, give a shady answer about yourself. Okay. You do that. How about that? And then Erika has the nerve to say, well, Dorit, is your marriage strong? Girl, that is not the point. Okay. That is not the point. The point is whether it was strong or wrong. Okay. You were wrong in that moment because you are predicting that my marriage will end. Okay, girl, you need to be more concerned about what happened with your marriage. All right. You really want to talk about it, really want to talk about things that's ending. How about that? You focus on you because you don't want nobody else talking about you. So you focus on you and you let me focus on me and don't mention my name again. All right. How about that? So Sutton, in an odd moment of a throw-in shade, says, well, the only, rumor I've heard about PK and Dorit is that the night of PK's DUI, I heard that he may or may not have had a woman in the car with him. But that's the only rumor I heard. Okay, Giselle, I said, I said Sutton coming on through with the intel over here. Okay. Now I didn't hear that either, but Teddy got the police report because she is a private eye, and she tells us on Watch What Happens Live, I saw the police report. There was no one in the car with him. He was alone. He was alone when he got his DUI. Girl, was you there? Anyway, Dorit is like, it's strong, but that's not the point. I went through a hard year and you're hurting, so you lashed out and it was mean-spirited, which it was. Erika reminds them that they've all said mean things about each other, and she was getting hit from all sides, and she offers a tearful apology for being rough and vicious, and she loves them all, and she's very sorry. Okay. Does Garcelle trust it? Not really. But anyway, she's going to try to give it a try because she really does want to trust her. That's the same place I'm at with Erika. I don't dislike Erika per se. I dislike some of the ways that she responded to things that were, I felt like, natural questions for the women to have. And so, but at the end of the day, there's something about her that I find interesting. And so I'm willing to follow the journey and see where it goes. That's just me being honest. So Kyle wants to go next. Now, this threw me for a loop. Kyle feels like the stuff with Kathy strained all their relationships, and they did. But she said she wanted someone to come up to her and support her at the reunion, like she expected more from Sutton and Dorit. And she says that she thinks that Sutton stayed cool with Kathy for the parties. Now, let me say this. Kyle, no ma'am. No ma'am, Pam. You first of all are upset that people are meddling in you and your sister's relationship from the get-go, right? That's number one. Number two, you already got your two besties who are coming at you all types of crazy about stuff that your sister said. So you already dealing with them. And third of all, you dragged and threw Sutton around like a rag doll back in your drinking days, and you expect her to have your back when every chance you got last 2 seasons, you have thrown her under the bus. You wanted her to have your back for what? For why? Now, if you wanted Dorit to have your back, then I can see you saying that. But for you to say that you wanted Sutton to have your back in such all this huge way, and that the only reason she didn't was because she feared Kathy, girl, you've been fearing Kathy all of your life. And it wasn't just so you could be at the parties, was it? Okay. You've been scared of her. You've been scared of her. So you now expect for everybody else to have something to be bigger and badder than you to your own sister. Girl, this is your sister. This is your family. Why did they need to defend you? Kathy didn't come at you at the reunion. Kathy came at Lisa and Erika Jane. If you wanted somebody to defend you, you should have been trying to have your own back against the people who were trying to come after you and your sister. Okay. It's gonna either be that you blood and you dealing and you gonna ride behind your blood or not. Now I get that Kathy probably said some crazy things about you, but at the end of the day, what do you need what do you need Sutton and Dorit to defend you for? Nobody came at you specifically at the reunion. They were coming at Kathy. You crying at the reunion was as a result of you realizing that you finally need to stand in your own bloomers and be your own woman and step out from under your sister's shadow and stop being afraid of her. That is the reason for your tears last season. Okay. So now that you are at that point, I feel like you shouldn't retroactively go back and be upset at them because they wasn't there. They wasn't standing 10 toes down for you when you didn't definitely stand 10 toes down for Sutton at all. Okay. So anyway, I was just kind of like thrown off by that. Garcelle was like, well, you know, I was hurt for you, girl, but I was also confused by you because you weren't coming for the people that were coming for your family. Okay. So the flashback also shows Rinna and Erika going at Kyle about Kathy and about how their whole relationship. So Kyle is like, well, she doesn't understand why Garcelle doesn't understand that Kathy created this storm. Okay, but you invited Kathy to be a part of this Ponderosa. Okay, so now you want everybody else to take care of a problem that you got. That's your family issue, not theirs. And you want people to stay out of it. What do you want? You want them to be in it or do you want them to be out of it? You got to make up your mind, girl, and you got to stop blaming other people for your problems. So anyway, at this point, Sutton speaks, girl, we've all said and done things. Let's just start again. Okay. So then they all hug it out. And I was like, that's an interesting way to start the season, but okay. The next scene that we see is Sutton meeting with her bestie, Jennifer Tilly, and Avi, her assistant, and they're honestly just talking about rich things. Sutton, at the end of the day, wants to show her success to her ex-husband because when she was with him, apparently when she got pregnant, he demanded that she didn't work no more. He started giving her allowance. Then he started taking away the allowance. And this is the stuff that I want to get into because she's been on this show for 3 seasons, and this is the first time that we've heard her talking about this. So I'm like, okay, let's get to the meat and the potatoes. Okay, give me story. Erika goes to visit her therapist, and they talk about her fall from grace, the indictment. She feels better now that she's not included in the indictment, but she still worries about what people think about people thinking that she was involved. Now, I wasn't even thinking about this whole situation no more until they started talking about it. Crystal's husband said something that I thought was very poignant that we also need to remember. Crystal's husband says she didn't steal the money, but she spent it. Now, Granted, that could have been out of ignorance, but at the end of the day, it's true. All right. If she didn't know what he was doing, and all she knew was that the money was coming in, that's all she know. But did she know that it was some illicit activities? I don't know. Anyway, we learned that she's off the Lexapro, so we ain't got to worry about her being on the alcohol and the Lexapro no more. But she still got to deal with this Dorit issue. This is what I found to be very interesting. She realizes that she needs to be a better friend, and the therapist says you need to learn how to have empathy for your friends. Okay, and Erika's like, "Well, how do I do that?" Now, I don't know what you would call somebody that lacks empathy or the ability to understand what others are going through, although it sounds like narcissism or a little bit of socio, I'm trying not to say those words because I can't, I'm not an expert, so I can't diagnose this woman, but that's what it's given some type of disorder. Like, why are you unable to empathize with people? Like, that's very strange to me. And you got to basically get the definition for empathy, like, or how it should be done. I ain't really get that. But if that's your truth, girl, that's your truth. Kyle goes over to Dorit's for some packaged pizza or whatever that she put into the stove. Kyle, we learned, is not drinking no more, especially after the way that she yanked up on Sutton like a rag doll last season. So Kyle also reveals that she's not going to be mistreated by anybody, especially not Kathy and definitely not Mauricio. But anyway, Kyle reveals that that Kathy is used to getting away with the type of behavior that she exhibited last season. And Dorit is like, well, I've also had a difficult year because of my PTSD, and PK is spending so much time in London. I'm guessing these are the breadcrumbs that we're supposed to be picking up to sort of have a better understanding of why PK and Dorit are allegedly at this point of almost separation, quite similar to her best friend Kyle and Mauricio. So anyway, Kyle reveals, well, all of these thoughts are normal. Is that a clue? Dorit is giving us, some story. I feel like Dorit is trying to give us story. And she's needed more from PK than he was likely capable of doing. All right. So Garcelle and her sons meet up, and I thought that this scene was like, ouch. She takes her sons to the beach, and they basically talk about her parenting style and or lack thereof, because one of the kids just want to see his girlfriend. He don't really care about these cameras, but the other kid is like, oh no, the other kid is Garcelle 2.0. Okay. The kid is like, when I needed you, Miss Ma'am, you were not there for me. Okay. And I had to figure things out all on my own. All right. So it's a very interesting conversation because I guess what we never really saw was a lot of Garcelle like parenting. And I guess for him to feel that way, it was very interesting for me to see, right? Especially for him to also be that honest with her as well, I thought was also interesting and intriguing. But she apologizes and admits to feeling like a failure. And again, I can't help but think that this season to me feels way more real than last season. And last season likely probably veered a lot more on toxic than it did grounded story. And I just feel like they're doing a much better job of giving me grounded story. All right, over at Kyle's house, this is probably the one of the most interesting scenes, but you know, Kyle is overhearing Mauricio in the office talking to his assistant Jane, and his schedule sounds jam-packed. He's got trips to Portugal, and we learned that she seems very annoyed with his conversation. And is it just me? Let me just ask y'all this question. It just seems like Kyle is different. Um, I feel like I'm used to seeing Kyle like a bit more glam, a bit more done up, and it felt to me like this is a very different Kyle. Like she's very, I mean, it's all the workout gear all the time. It's the spandex and the it just feels like a different, and she basically says it. She's changed a lot. Okay. Um, we learned that they have been having a challenging year because they have to schedule time to go over their schedules. I would imagine that's like most marriages. I mean, I feel like when you have two people who are really busy working, I feel like that's important, but that's just me. He comments about how good she's looking and how much she's changing her life. Then he asks her, "Well, how many tattoos do you have right now?" And I'm like, now, listen, it would probably be very difficult for somebody to describe how many tattoos that I have because I even don't know. Okay. I mean, there are so many. There's such a plethora. There's a plethora of things going on this body, but for somebody to, really know the exact number when I don't even know is like, okay. But since she only has five and those are very distinct to her, and he don't know, she's like, clearly you're not looking at my body enough. And I was like, eek. Okay. And so at that point, Mauricio is like, well, I think five is enough. Now, I'm going to tell y'all the truth. I was Kyle in this moment. Escúchame? What? What you say? You going to try to tell me what to do with my body? You must have done lost your mind. Okay. Because when I decide to go get a tattoo, that is me deciding what I want to do with my body. And I ain't really like that he was trying to tell her that because I don't like when somebody try to tell that to me. I ain't gonna, if I want to get a tattoo on my face, I'm gonna do it. Okay. And ain't nobody gonna tell me otherwise. Because guess what? It's my body. So he shouldn't be trying to tell her what to do because whether or not she wants to get a tattoo or not, that's her form of self-expression. And at the end of the day, I feel like what's wrong? What's the harm in it? Like she's basically doing something that she wants to do for her. And it really, I mean, what's the deal with that? So it really is a little situation between the two of them. Like, you ain't gonna get no more tattoos. And she's like, yes, I am. Okay. Basically, she tells him she's at a point in her life where I don't have to explain anything to anyone anymore. And basically, that includes you. Okay. She says after everything she's been through, that's enough. But then he tells her, just because you have been through these things, don't let it turn you into a rebellious person. Do it because you want to. I agree with that too. But I also feel like you can't tell somebody not to be rebellious because maybe that's just the period that she's in right now. So I don't know. Anyway, she says she's pretty effing clear right now. She's not rebelling. She's just very, very clear. Excuse me. Very clear. Um, that was the episode, y'all. I think it was good. I was very impressed by the direction that they chose to go in because it felt more story driven than drama driven. And I hope they keep this going as long as the stories stay interesting and authentic. All right. So that's my review for Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And I will catch you, of course, in the next video.